Welcome to the Glazov gang. I'm Nonie Darwish, and I'm filling in tonight for Jamie Glazov. Tonight we have three wonderful conservative analysts. The first is Mr. Borek, Volarik, and he is an anti-communist activist. He's a conservative, and he lived in Eastern Europe under communism. Dr. Karen Siegemund, and she is an educator, and also she's the founder of Rage Against the Media. And last but not least, Michael Chandler, and he is a conservative media analyst. Thank you all for being here. As you all know, Syria is the hot topic on the news, and it's dominating the news. There are pros and cons, of course, for any action when it comes to the Middle East. What do you think, Borek, I'll start with you. What do you think the West should do when it comes to Syria and the use of gas in Syria? Is it of any benefit if we interfere to Western interests? Do we need to prove ourselves as a nation that we are still the superpower? What do you think?
Well, I'm warning you, I'll be very cynical today. Okay?
I can understand why.
Well, first of all, from the cynical point of view, okay, there are Muslims killing Muslims. So as long as the Muslims are killing other Muslims, they don't have time to kill Israelis. So that's, from a cynical point of view, a very good news. Well, there used to be good guys probably 2 years ago, but right now, the so-called freedom fighters are basically mercenaries paid by absolute monarchies like Qatar, Saudi Arabia. And here is what's happening there right now. It's very difficult to say who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, because they are both bad. So, okay, Bashar is bad guy, fine. Now, who are the rebels? My wife is a preschool teacher, and one of the fathers there, of one of her kids, is a Syrian Christian who wears a little cross on his neck. And he had to escape Syria because his brother was a Christian priest.
Yeah.
He was beheaded. Okay.
Yep.
So by the freedom fighters, by those democratic fighters. So it's very difficult who's good guy, who's bad guy. I would say, let them fight.
Yeah.
Let them fight. The longer they fight and the more of them get killed, fine. At least Israel has a little breather.
Karen, what do you think?
I find this an absolutely astonishing situation that we have a president who won a Nobel Peace Prize, who, after one instance of a gassing situation as horrific as it is, even though we have no idea at this point or evidence about who gassed whom, is ready to commit America to a war, knowing, in my opinion, we know who Assad is, and we know who's supporting these rebels, and the people supporting these rebels are those who've attacked us. There's no question in my mind that it's the Muslim Brotherhood behind these rebels, and that President Obama has two goals. The primary goal is to do whatever he can to weaken the United States. And part of that is drawing a line, the red line, and then refusing to admit that he drew a red line, and then refusing to stand by whatever he said, and then going back on it. What does this make us look like? It makes America look weak. To me, that's his predominant goal. A strong America is President Obama's worst nightmare. The goal is to flatten the earth politically, to weaken us so that others can be raised, and this move seems to be clearly in concert with that objective. It's not about showing America as a strong superpower. On the contrary, it's about weakening us. I think we need to stay out.
Michael?
I agree largely with what was said before, but I would expand it. I don't see it merely as Israel. I think that I share the view that I would let my enemies fight amongst themselves. I would have America start to consider things from a different perspective. We should ask, who are our enemies and who are our friends? And not dither and dance and speculate, but be real systematic about it. It's real easy to see who our enemies are. Our enemies are China, our enemies are Russia, our enemies are Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood. Well, and to put it more broadly, although it's indelicate, the Arab world generally is not favorable. The Muslim world is not favorable to Western interests, let alone American interests. Well, America is the chief of the West. If the West and America are unclear on who their enemies are, whether abroad or within, because there is a sizable and growing Muslim, Arab population within America and within the West as a whole, these are undermining us. They're like termites.
Yeah.
They're there, but you don't see them, and they cause damage that you don't realize until it's really too late.
Do you think if we go and bomb a few things in Syria now and just be using air force, do you think this is going to make them respect us more?
First of all, we're not going to use the Air Force. They want to use cruise missiles.
Yeah, or missiles, or just
$1.5 million
without
per missile.
Yeah.
But stop. Yet, in my view, one has to stop and think about targeting. We've been talking about this now for what? A year? Maybe 8 months, 6 months, and now more frequently for 3 weeks or so. What have they been doing? They've been saying, oh, America may attack us. Let's move that which might be attacked to someplace other than where it sits now, so that
like what
when
happened
those
in
ships
Iraq.
finally fire their missiles, they will bomb empty warehouses, and the Americans will think, ha, we've accomplished something, and they'll go home, and they will put the stuff back in the warehouses and continue where we left off.
I would like to make one little note. Lots of Syrian chemical weapons are probably from Iraq.
Right.
Where
Exactly.
Saddam Hussein actually hid them in Syria. I would like to
That's
say
a
one
fine
thing. In
point.
Czech language, we have a little saying which goes like, when two are fighting, the third one laughs. That's, let them fight. You're the third one, let them fight. And I would add one little thing. Gassing people is bad. Very, very bad. It's heinous. But, don't forget one thing. Syria never signed the treaty banning the chemical weapons. America didn't sign the treaty banning landmines and cluster bombs. Syria didn't sign the treaty banning the chemical weapons, which doesn't mean that they should use them as they wish, but they didn't sign the treaty.
Well, what happened is, I think
But there are worldwide conventions against their use, and that's the issue.
Iraq used,
As there were with Iraq, right.
Iraq used chemical weapons in its war against Iran, and we didn't interfere.
Right.
And Iraq used chemical weapons also
Halal
against the Kurds, and we still didn't interfere. The reason we went into Iraq was because of 9/11. Really, it wasn't because they used chemical weapons against their people. So, I don't know what's the necessity of getting into Syria.
Right.
You say, what's the difference? It's been used before, and we didn't get into war.
It's a
Because who we
whimsical
would side
outrage.
Is it?
It's a whimsical outrage.
Yeah. Do you think?
don't know.
Do you think this is going to deter? If we bomb Syria as a punishment for using chemical weapons, do you think this is going to deter Iran? Is it going to deter Syria?
Not at all.
Is it
No.
going to deter? So it's not a deterrent. So why do you think? Another question I'd like
See,
to
Obama
ask.
has painted himself in a corner.
Yeah.
Because he has really run nothing in his whole life except his mouth.
Exactly.
He hasn't run divisions or companies or schools or nothing. All he does is talk.
And it's
he
very
talked
obvious.
himself into this now.
He is very. People don't trust his expertise.
That's because he's
We're-
incoherent.
But don't you think
Yeah.
destabilization is his goal, which is exactly what is happening right now? We are destabilizing the region in ways that are unprecedented. Under Hillary Clinton, we had the Arab Spring that produced this. We had Libya. President Obama and Hillary Clinton have done unbelievable damage to the stability in the Middle East. I don't know that I see it as incompetence, to be perfectly honest. I see a lot of it as
But
deliberate.
it's hypocrisy because
Oh, yeah.
Obama refused to admit that America is a special
On the contrary.
country. He wanted America not to be a superpower or act like a superpower. His mission was for America to act just like any other country.
Correct.
So why is he suddenly now interested in acting like a superpower and taking responsibility for protecting people from chemical weapons? I mean, this is total hypocrisy.
Arbitrary outrage.
This
Do you-
hypocrisy.
When he feels like being outraged, he's outraged. When he feels like he tolerates. Doesn't matter.
You don't see who's composing the rebel contingent as playing a role in this? I think that plays a huge role. This isn't just two random groups and he whimsically decides to do something. I think it's key who he is picked to side with, and that for the first time he has decided to side with a group, and that is Muslim Brotherhood, that is Islamic forces, that is a group that is doing everything they can to hurt Christians in the
Western
area.
interest, yeah.
I don't think this is
Or their
whimsical
allies.
at all. I think this is a deliberate choice of side.
Yeah, Michael, as you know, Saudi Arabia is admitted that yes, Obama is going to probably do the right thing by attacking Syria, which is very strange. It's the first time Arab countries sensed by Obama, by a president of the United States, in such solidarity. At the same time, the hypocrisy is that the Arab League is against interference into Syria. So the Saudi Arabia says one thing, the Arab League says something else, and Obama is appearing like, it's almost like America is the Air Force of Saudi Arabia.
with a policeman for other interests.
Yeah,
right.
What I would
it's
have
almost
us,
like they're our bosses. Yeah, go.
Well, sure. And in part, it's increasingly understandable because as we let our economics get out of balance, we are increasingly dependent on others. What I would have us do, at least in part, is authorize the immediate implementation of the Keystone Pipeline, where we will exploit North American petroleum sources and wean ourselves off of Middle Eastern oil altogether.
Drill, baby, drill.
That will never happen with the Obama administration.
Well, that may be, but what I'm saying in terms of coherence, if we want to detach ourselves from all the continuous turmoil of the Middle East, a couple of the ways that would occur would be for us to keep our money here and let them try to sell their oil elsewhere in a declining oil market and let them drink that oil. Because if they have no place to sell it and they get no money for it, they're going to have problems. And thirdly, I would let them fight their own battles. If they want to gas each other, let them gas each other.
You're assuming a presidency
You don't
with
care.
the national interest.
May I have my dreams?
Karen, do you think that Obama is trustworthy enough to handle any negative,
He's not trustworthy.
Consequences to any attack on Syria? Because there are unintended consequences to an attack on a country. You never know. They might bomb Israel with chemical and biological weapons.
Right.
What will Obama do if something like that happens?
Blame
He'd
Bush.
blame the Congress.
He'd blame
the
Congress.
Congress.
He'd blame the UN. He
He'd
will
blame intelligence.
Anybody under the sun. He will say, my heart was in the right place. I was trying to stand by the chemical weapons convention. I was trying to do the right thing by these people, and look at what all these bad people are doing. This man has never taken responsibility for a single thing in his entire life. Yeah. He has never actually, I was thinking about this the other day, what has he ever taken on that to him can be considered a failure? Not one thing, with the possible exception of the gun Second Amendment issues, which he is now circumventing the Constitution and the rule of law, and so on and so forth. But whenever
even then, he blamed Christians for clinging, right?
to guns
so
and
it's
religion.
Really their
so
fault,
it's their
not his.
fault.
Yeah.
So there's not. He has never actually had to face the consequences of anything he's done. He has not learned how to deal with failure. Think of, Bill Clinton learned and he triangulated and so on and so forth. And presidents, you imagine that they learn as they go. This is a man who came in unprepared, who remains just as unprepared, just as narcissistic. And look at his speech today. It's staggering.
Yeah.
It's absolutely staggering.
Yeah.
He is completely incapable of handling
Borek,
consequences.
just for a few seconds left, can you tell me, do you trust Obama to handle any negative consequences to the attack on Syria?
Well, no, because whatever happens, and if there is attack on Israel, whatever, he can always go and play another round of golf.
Yes.
And here is the question. How can Saudi Arabia expect a leftist to do the right thing?
Yeah. Well, Saudi Arabia is using and abusing us, and he is allowing.
But he's a leftist.
Yeah.
How can he do
But actually,
the right
the
things?
leftists are doing Saudi Arabia the biggest favor ever. And like Michael said, they are not allowing any drilling in this country and enriching them with petrodollars. This is the best favor the left is doing.
But look, there were people
the-
dying in Benghazi, right? Obama uttered a few words and went to sleep, and then for the fundraiser. So when people start dying somewhere, he'll play golf. No problem.
Yep. We're coming towards the end of this segment, and we're going to conclude now, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.